Well, it's Friday already. Can you believe it? Time for your message from the morning man. Ekuya hated her life. Her husband, Nana, was a deadbeat. He simply couldn't do anything right. And of course, he couldn't do anything at all right in the eyes of her husband, in the eyes of his wife. Every time he would earn a salary, he would blow it on things that were not useful or important to the family. And of course, with every passing day, Ekuya complained more and more. We'll be telling you a little bit more about this in just a moment. First, we're going to take a quick break. We have to apologize. There was a bit of a technical issue there, but we have resolved it. Normal service resumes. So let's try again. Ekuya hated her life. Her husband, Nana, was a deadbeat. He simply couldn't do anything right. He owed almost everyone in the village. His kids couldn't go to school because he owed school fees from previous terms. When anyone in the family fell sick, he would take them anywhere but to the hospital because there was an outstanding bill there too. Nana's salary was never enough. He had expensive tastes and he spent his money on fine things. Often he would take money from Ekuya's purse to fund his gambling and drinking. He wasn't above dipping his hands into his children's savings jars either, just so he could have a good time on a Friday night. Ekuya complained and complained, but nothing ever changed. Nana just got worse and worse. The children got hungrier and dirtier and more illiterate. Now, to cover up for his inadequacies, Nana kept lying to his wife and child about the reality of their situation. But they were not fools. They knew the truth. Whenever Ekuya confronted Nana with her concerns, he would always remind her that things were not always this bad. He used to be rich. He used to take good care of all of them, and the fact that he had fallen on hard times did not mean he was incapable of rising again. He just needed time. Things would be great again. But Ekuya had had enough. The last straw was when Nana announced that in spite of his debts, his dirty compound, his unhealthy children, and his unhappy wife, he was going to throw a massive birthday party to celebrate his life. Ekuya gave up entirely on him and left. Now, on the other side of town, Michael, the rich playboy, had pity on Ekuya and gave her a place to stay. Now, he knew what a hard time she had been having and decided to give her somewhere to live out of the goodness of his heart. He gave her food, new clothes, a car. He even opened a small tabletop provision shop for her and told her he would give serious thought to making her his second wife. Ekuya was elated. She'd much rather be a second wife to a man who could take care of her than the only wife of a man who couldn't even take care of himself. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, months into years, and the marriage never happened. Michael paid much less attention to her than he used to. His first wife hated Ekuya and made her do all the most degrading chores in the house. The first wife would eat to her fill before handing the scraps to Ekuya and her children. Ekuya complained to Michael, but he just didn't care enough to do anything about it. To him, Ekuya was a charity case he took in out of pity. He never promised to marry her. He just said he would consider it. He didn't need her. He already had a wife. If she was uncomfortable, she could always leave. Ekuya started to wonder if she hadn't been too hasty in leaving Nana. After all, he did have potential. He was having tough times and making bad decisions, but should she not have helped him instead of complaining and eventually leaving? Should she not have grabbed him by the lapels and dragged him to his feet? Should she not have set rules and forced him to stick to them? Should she not have kept an eagle eye on his salary and controlled his expenses? Should she not have taken more responsibility and stepped in where he was failing to ensure things turned around for the benefit of her and her children? After all, he was her husband, her own, and he needed her, right? Anyway, where am I going with this? Well, I want you to imagine for a moment that you are Ekuya, and Nana, the deadbeat husband, is your country Ghana. Michael, the rich man across town, is some foreign developed country like the US or the UK or even the Gulf states like Emirates or Libya. And his first wife, of course, represents the developed country's indigenous citizens. Now, I do understand the frustration we often have with our nation and its failings. But much as some other country may seem attractive, it is not your home. And you will always be a third-class citizen there. You'll only ever benefit from their scraps. In fact, today on radio, we'll be talking to a few Ghanaians who thought life must be better on the other side, so they braved untold perils to go and find work in Libya, only to be treated like slaves. Third-rate citizens in someone else's country. And they were never made to forget it. But you see, your country is yours forever. And it needs you. Ghana needs you to stand up and drag it up with you. Ghana needs you to speak up against all the wrongs that you see in society. Ghana needs you to force its leaders to do the right thing and account for every single resource that passes through their hands. Ghana needs you to speak truth to power and make sure that those responsible for solving our problems can never get away with doing anything but their best. After all, it's the only country you've got, and it needs you. Right? My name is Kojo Yankson, and Ghana is my home. So my job is to scrub it spotless and keep it that way. Good morning, Ghana.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the AM News. I am Peter CBD. Now, minority political candidates locked horns on Joy News Imani Africa debate with bold statements about why the electorate should consider them as a formidable third force. There were both moderate and radical proposals on the best way to deal with some of the endemic issues facing the country. We have highlights of the debate at the University of Professional Studies in Accra.
Those who are beginning to come up with businesses should be given tax holidays and tax exemptions. That will help the business community to grow. And I think these are the areas that we have to tackle.
Mr. Asanarega, you're a businessman yourself. What would you do to major interventions to improve the climate for those in the industry?
One, reduce taxes. Two, encourage the businesses to have an enabling environment to grow. Three, to support businesses with capital to build up. Four, to help the business, guarantee them with land, labor efficiency for the businesses to thrive. All along, when you work around in this country, you realize that most people have start capital and they don't have working capital. So sometimes businesses go down because in the process of trying to build up, and there are so many taxes that you can pay, you're forced to use the little working capital you have. And when these cannot sustain you, these businesses go down. And now the most important thing is efficiency of labor. Our labor force sometimes are not that qualified to support businesses to grow. So businesses, men and women, come into this country and looking for the right labor, and it's a problem. So we need to build a labor force that is very sustainable, strong, and robust to help this country move forward. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Greenstreet, your interventions?
At a point in time, when you studied economics, it was not called economics, it was called political economy. And that is because it is the politics which controls the economics. But over the last 20 or so or 30 years, they have created the impression that economics is a special area on its own, which should be allowed to propagate this theory, which actually has failed, that it is only the private sector which is the engine of growth. It is only retrenchment, deregulation, reduction of taxes which will produce success. Actually, that is why we have vast unemployment, and that is why we find ourselves in the situation we are in now, because that approach has entirely failed. We need state intervention to provide long-term availability of capital, as has been done in countries which have succeeded, like Sweden, Germany, Singapore, Taiwan, and elsewhere, in an intentional manner with a desired result.
The opposition National Democratic Congress NDC has campaigned vigorously with the message of removing the double-track system in senior high schools in a year. When asked how that can be done in a matter of months, party bigwigs say they will add private senior high schools to the free SHS system. Constitutional experts have, however, indicated there are laws that state that government cannot fund private schools. So how does the NDC intend to implement this policy? Listen to John Mahama's running mate, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Ajima, speaking in a yet-to-be-aired episode of On the Record with Daniel Dadzi.
If you decide to give everybody a scholarship, whether they're going to private school or not, and they decide to take theirs to a private school and top it up, what law are you breaking?
But will that be free if they decide to top it up in the private school?
That will be their choice. You always have a choice. Many parents who do not like the double track have taken their children out. They have a choice. Okay?
So is that what the administration will be doing if voted into power?
What you can do now, as you are hoping to get into power, is to have maybe 000 draft of your implementation plan. Okay, so I cannot say now that that's what it is. It is when you move in, the other things you didn't know or didn't see. Let me use the example of the COVID. Before then, we had just been told how strong and robust the economy was. Again, nobody did their homework. So you all believed it. Barely 2 weeks into COVID, we are told we need emergency support. Emergency support for an economy that was robust and was doing so well. So you see, if at the time you also took those words and didn't see everything, that different figures were going to this place and different figures were going to that place, it could be total, but you have a sense of what you will do. Okay, you have a sense, a pretty clear sense of what you will do. But you must also allow yourself to learn more once everything moves into your hands. And
the suggestion is that in that sense that we have, it will be a scholarship to students that people
whatever, as I've told you, you have 000 drafts.
On the Record with Daniel Dadzi is on Monday, October 19 at 8 p.m. on the Joy Prime channel. To other stories now, thousands of private teachers who have been out of jobs since schools were shut down by government to control the spread of COVID-19 have resolved to don funeral cloths for the next 2 weeks to draw attention to their plights. The teachers, numbering over 16,000, according to the Ghana National Association of Private Schools, were told to stay at home as there were no students to be taught. Unlike their counterparts in public schools who have continued to receive their salaries while at home, the affected teachers say they have not been paid since April and are really struggling to survive. At a news conference in Accra Thursday, the association said its members will hold funerals across the country if government refuses to come to their aid. There's more in the following reports by my colleague, Kweku Asante.
She was a 24-year-old lady nursing a 6-month-old baby. On 16th March 2020, the private school where she taught class 3 pupils was closed down in response to government's directive on the closure of schools throughout the country. She returned home crestfallen to her husband, who had just completed one of the tertiary institutions in the country and was yet to secure a job. With no means of subsistence, how was she to cater for her first daughter and unemployed husband?
This is what private teachers are going through across the length and breadth of the country. This is according to the Ghana National Association of Private Schools. According to acting president of the association, Dr. Damasus Turosong, their members have not received any salary for more than 6 months following the closure of schools as a precaution to the outbreak of coronavirus in Ghana. The association is therefore calling on government to come to its aid and save them from starvation.
We are here this morning to once again draw government's attention to the plight of our workers and implore government to immediately come to the aid of private school workers. We must not sit to mourn crocodile tears at the funeral of our famished workers. They do not need garlands on their graves or beautiful tributes and eulogies by their coffins. We must act now to save them from starvation.
The association is also directing private school teachers across the country to wear funeral outfits for 2 weeks if government fails to heed to calls to come to their aid.
I hereby announce that from Monday, 19th October 2020, all private school managers and workers are to begin wearing funeral outfits. If government fails to come to the assistance of our teachers within the 2-week period, the full-blown funeral ceremonies will commence from Monday, 2nd November 2020. A series of activities will be carried out from then onwards to mourn with our teachers and workers. To this end, funeral rites will be organized across the 16 regions of Ghana to mourn the plight of our emaciated, starving workers.
Courage Kekeli, a private school teacher, noted that life has been unbearable for him and other colleagues since government closed schools some 7 months ago.
In fact, some of us, especially we the private school teachers, things are very difficult. Things are so tough for some of us. I'm a 40-year-old man with a wife and children. I also look after my extended family, and I have to, take good care of my children as well. As a teacher, as I do take care of other people's children, I have to do the same for my children. And for now, we the private school teachers, most of us, we are jobless, especially those who don't have any other work apart from teaching, and I'm part of them. Things are so difficult and tough for us.
And that's how we end the AM News. I am Apita CBD. The show continues with Mama V Owusu Abwaje.
Welcome to the review segment of our show, the AM Show, and Joseph Akable is in studio. Benjamin Akapo will be joining us via Zoom for us to do the review. We'll tell you what's making headlines in the newspapers, but I'm excited about our main conversation on the show today is World Food Day, and we wanted to have a conversation of our own. How is our situation like? How has COVID-19 impacted on agriculture? That's something that we've heard very little of. So we've got the 2018 National Best Farmer, Mr. James Boateng, a man who had done many years in corporate, really, who has, some incredible farms as well, 1,002 acres. He's got mangoes, cashew, oil palm, oranges, cocoa. Well, that's very inspiring. Snail farm, livestock, poultry, all together. He started farming in 2004, and in 2018 he was adjudged the National Best Farmer. He's got an incredible story, but he would also be helping us with a broader conversation, and hopefully he can inspire you to start something of your own. Is it too late to get into farming today? He would let us know all about it. The pictures that you see on your screen, all from his farm. So Mr. James Boateng will join us on the show this morning. That's one to look forward to. Joseph Akable, do you have a little farm at home, like a backyard garden? That's what they say we should do, start something like that?
I don't have a backyard garden yet, but farming is one area that I intend to venture into in the not so distant future.
Yeah?
I mean, when I decide to...
What are you thinking? What are you thinking that you would grow? I have a friend who is into pineapple and coconuts.
I intend to have coconuts because my hometown, there are lots of coconut plantations that are available that you can get at affordable rates. And so that will be supplying it to Accra. You know, I went to my hometown, I bought coconuts for 2 cedis 50 pesos, and I got like 5 of them.
Oh.
Yeah, but they bring it to Accra and
how much they sell it these days?
Yeah, you can even get it one for 2 cedi 50 pesos, just one. Yeah, so I mean, I intend to go into coconut and also Operation Feed Myself. So the yam, cassava, and those things that I need to cook in the house too. So it's a medium-term plan.
Yeah,
I have.
Well, I also want to do the tomatoes and the pepper, you know, like the backyard thing, just for the household. But you know, I haven't started. Something that we always say.
Maybe we can get some tips from.
Absolutely, from Mr. Boateng this morning. Yes. All right, guys. Let's do the newspapers now. Let's get into the papers proper. Would you start, Akable?
Yes, I'll start with the Daily Guide. The front page says Dr. Anya heads Ho Teaching Hospital.
Oh,
interesting.
From Kolebu?
Yes, from Kolebu to Ho Teaching Hospital. Official Pofo tape transcript in court, also on the front page. And Ifia Schwarzenegger slams NDC. Another Legon lecturer killer nabbed, also on the front page. And 6 die in Galamsey pit, also on the front page of the Daily Guide newspaper. The back page has this story about party likened to Vieira. And fight for your position, Lamte advises Kotoko keeper. Yeah. Championship club faces collapse. Also on the back page of the Daily Guide newspaper this morning. The front page of the BNFT, it says Dr. Ernest Addison, BOG win major awards, and MSMEs contribute only 4% to domestic tax revenue. That's PEF findings, despite making up 92% of registered companies. Okay, so those of you who are interested in the business stories, you can find this in the Business and Financial Times. And consult locals in the implementation of One Village, One Dam project. It's coming from PFAG to government. Yendi ICT Center turns white elephant. The story is on page 3. The back page of the Business and Financial Times says IES Edmond Combat participates in energy transition. Germany's policy on hydrogen in Berlin. I know Edmond Combat. He was SRC president at Legon. He works with the Institute of Energy Securities now. So congrats to him. He's made a back page of the BNFT. Let me take the headline again. IES Edmond Combat participates in energy transition. Germany's policy on hydrogen in Berlin.
And the only reason you've read it twice is because you know him from the University of Ghana.
He's a brilliant young man. Yeah.
All right, let's do the Daily Graphic newspaper. Front page of the Graphic. Government unveils 2 billion Ghana cedis credit guarantee scheme for SMEs. Fix security challenges, as Santehene tells police. Banner headline, not something that you'd like. Large farmland submerged, 13,469 displaced, and this happened in the northeast. There's Idrisu Baba, a farmer pointing to the path leading to his submerged farm at Pualugu. And that's a farm submerged as a result of the floods, making the picture on the front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. The center spread of the paper this morning, its vice president inaugurates projects at Nkenkansu, and then Gamanche commiserates with former President Rawlings. Agriculture mechanization, way to boost trade on continent. That's the principal policy advisor, the macroeconomics and governance division of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, has said that to make the most from being the host of the headquarters of the African Continental Free Trade Area, Ghana needs to add value to its primary agricultural produce. So there you have it. Details in the center spread. On the back page, stakeholders mark e-waste day, and Chinese firm supports COVID-19 fights, gives 30,000 Ghana cedis to Asante Akim Central Health Directorates. And on that note, let's say good morning to Benjamin Akakpo.
Good morning, Mama V.
Yes.
Good morning, Joseph.
Good morning,
Hope
Ben.
you are well.
Oh yeah, we're well, healthy. Thank God it's Friday. Which papers are you reviewing?
Well, I have so 2 of them actually, the Custodian newspaper and the Republic Press. I shall start with the Custodian newspaper. This morning it says, Offensive chiefs extol Akufo-Addo's government. And I guess we have another one on our hands. Yesterday I was talking about chiefs in politics. There was a Zango chief who had passed some comments. Yes, I've been told that Zango chiefs are not necessarily chiefs per what the Constitution says, but I think it's a worry that a lot of them seem to be dabbling in this. But that's something else I'll come to later. Then there's carry cameras to polling centers. Sylvester Mensah to the NDC faithful there. So it looks like this year the elections are going to be boot for boot, if you like, and there's going to be close marking when it comes to what happens on election day. There's also this one, talking money. Ghana to earn $1.65 billion from new petroleum hub. And some more coming through. NDC embezzled $114 million in Saglemi housing project. That's according to the housing minister, Atta Achia. Now, when you go to the Republic Press this morning, it says suspicions in electoral process fueling vigilantism. That's according to a chief who will turn Labour Office into National Employment Bureau. If you've been listening to Sami Jenfi, especially yesterday, there was a lot to talk about. Then this one, another matter I'd love to get into. Jan brothers in fresh trouble over alleged assault case. This is a very interesting one, and if indeed it happened, as the CEO of Websoft Solutions, Godwin Mate, is saying, then that would be quite some impunity there shown by ex-Black Stars captain. What do we call him? The general captain now? I don't know whether he still holds that position, and his brother, Bafojan. Then there's also this one. Some MPP members want me jailed. That's Kennedy Ejapong lamenting that. And slain MP's second wife surfaces. I'm talking about Honorable Quayson Hayfoot. May his soul rest in peace. When you go to the back page, only yesterday we were talking about Elikem Kumoji. Well, he says, I don't date broke women. And he admits sleeping with old, rich women. So that is Elikem Kumoji there. I'd like to find out from Akable what his take is on that matter later on. And then there's nothing wrong with sleeping with men for money. That is Vicky Zuga. So those are the papers I have, the Custodian newspaper and the Republic Press. Momavi.
Okay, so let's...
And I would like to ask you the same question too. Oh, let me do the Finder newspaper. Front page of the Finder. Finder says, we're very impressed with the Kufuor's government. That's Offensive Chiefs. And Benjamin, you're talking about the Chiefs now going all out in the campaign. You have one being reported in the Finder today. Murdered Infantiman MP to be buried on November 27. There's a very interesting write-up in the Daily Graphic on page 7 by Enimel Ashon. I would share a bit of it with you on the same issue. He talks about the widows and the 200 bodyguards. Very, very good write-up there. But front page of the Finder still, government to absorb utility bills for public university students from next academic year. I guess it's one of the big ones today, and Joseph tells me it could be a response to the promises, the promise made by the NDC to absorb 50% of
the fees of tertiary students for the 2021-2022 academic year.
Okay, so this is what the NPP also says, speaking through the Minister of Education, Dr. Matthew Opoko-Pempe. He says that no student in the public university will pay utility bills from next academic year. This is intended to lessen the financial burden on students and increase access to tertiary education in the country. So he says the Akufo-Addo-led government was the first to introduce a tertiary. Okay, I guess he goes on to talk about what they have done with the tertiary institutions. For us, though, is the fact that they've said that they would absorb utility bills for tertiary students. State calls second prosecution witness in Ofosu Ampofo Boahen's trial. That's also being reported in the paper today. And impose anti-dumping duties on aluminium coils, secals originating from China. That's a big call by a certain commission. Which commission is that? Is the Ghana International Trade Commission. And it has ruled that aluminium coils and secals from China are being dumped onto the Ghanaian domestic market, causing material injury and the threats of material injury to the Ghanaian industry. The rest of the story is right there in the Finder. Joseph, you do the Times?
Yes, the front page of the Ghanaian Times. Quickly, it says, a tragedy, 6 Galamseyers killed in mine pit at Dumbanso on the front page. One more suspect grabbed in connection with murder of UG Law professor. And Vice President, former President Mahama, others attend slain MPs one-week observance also on the front page. The funeral slated for November 27 to 29. The back page of the Ghanaian Times has this story about pack house to boost vegetable farming inaugurated, and passenger services on Takoradi Sekondi rail line resume on Monday. It has a beautiful train with the Ghanaian colours on the train. It's the Sekondi Takoradi Kojokrom railway station. So those who use it, it's resuming on Monday. You can catch a train on Monday if you use that area.
Is it traveling beyond the normal routes? Is it, or this is?
We are told that it will resume. So they went off for some time because of some rehabilitation works that they were doing, and so it's just on the Takoradi Sekondi rail line that passes through Kojokrom. That's according to the acting traffic manager who disclosed this to the Ghanaian Times yesterday.
Well, we're looking to connect our cities. See, that's what I'm looking forward to. All right, is there, okay, there's the Daily Dispatch newspaper. Let's check out the front page of the Daily Dispatch. Sylvester Mensah rallies NDC cadres, 1 week memorial for MP, thoughts of a Nima boy, a conversation with Professor Wole Soyinka, and First Lady campaigns for NPP at Dade Kotopong. That's how the front page of the Daily Dispatch looks like. On the back page, though, you'd find the 1 week observation for late Mfantsiman MP at Mankasim. They've got pictures there. The 2020 polls will crush trouble makers, protect the ballots. Strong assurance there by the IGP. But related to the Mfantsiman, former Mfantsiman Member of Parliament, is this write-up I was talking about in the Daily Graphic by NML Ashon. Very clever write-up. And it raises some issues and refers us to widows replacing their husbands, if you like, in parliaments. So he brings back some of the recent ones that we've seen, but also raises this very important issue. So, for instance, he says, that's why I wonder, in the case of Mrs. Ophelia Kwanzaa, the widow of the slain Mfantsiman Member of Parliament, how did the New Patriotic Party supporters and constituencies top brass manage to squeeze a painful nod or a feeble yes to their question whether or not she would be willing to inherit the husband's title? The reason this bit came up in terms of the question he's raising is that he says widows, especially of men who die from unnatural causes, are usually inconsolable for days and weeks. And if you think about the announcement coming in terms of she replacing the late husband in just a matter of hours, that's why he asked this very important question. But, you know, it's just things that we know, but he's drawing our minds to it back in this write-up, and he gives an opinion on the bodyguards issue as well. But he also says something that I would like. Yes, Ben.
Well, I just wanted to chip in that, you know, there's this article on the Smithsonian as well, that this whole bit about wives replacing their husbands, some of us think it's a novelty. It isn't. Even in American politics, dating all the way back to 1940, you know, the House of Representatives, the Senate, these matters have been cropping up. So it's nothing new, technically. It's something that has been happening even in the so-called more democratic world. But my only problems, I have some problems to do with, you know, the trend in our country and whether it is not becoming one too many, you know, in our body politic. So maybe that's something that we can address at some other time.
Okay. All right. Any other stories that you want to highlight? I would ask people to read this piece of editorial on page 7 in the Daily Graphic newspaper.
Just a number of top cases, just quick updates on them. The first one is about the killing of the Legon lecturer. We are told that another suspect has been arrested by the police. Is one Ebenezer Kwaisi. He was arrested from his hideout at Kwamonso near Koforidua in the Eastern Region on Wednesday morning by a team of detectives from the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service. And so he had been mentioned by a key suspect, James Nana Wamba, who is currently in the police custody as an accomplice to the crime. And so that is the update on the murder of Professor Bene. In terms of the alleged coup plotters, to the Attorney General's office says that's filed all documents and is ready for the trial to proceed once the defense team is able to go through it, and they are also ready for the trial to commence. And so that is the update for that particular matter. Then the final one has to do with Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo. You recall that leaked tape that he said was not him, that the state felt he was the one, and put him before the court and leveled charges against him. The update is that a transcript of the tape has been done and submitted to the court and was accepted by the court. It was tendered in through someone who works at the Institute of Languages. He did a transcription, so he came in as a state witness and spoke to it, and as the court accepted this particular piece of evidence. And so that trial is also ongoing for those who may be interested in what is happening in terms of some of the high-profile cases that we've not heard anything about quite recently. And so that is it by way of update in terms of major issues. I don't know whether we want to move into Elikem Kumaji now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you want to answer that question?
No, he should answer the question. You had a question for him.
No, but I posed the question, Akable. I posed the question first, so it's only right that you
ask the question directly.
I give you mine.
What are you asking? Ask directly.
Oh, are you interested in dating older, rich women or rich older women? Like Elikem Kumaji, Joseph Akable?
No.
Live on air. What's the answer to that?
No, I'm not. I don't look out for wealth or age or anything when I'm going out with someone. It's more of if you connect and if you are cool. So while he may be going out looking for rich and wealthy and older, those are not things I look out for. When it happens, it happens. I mean, what do you think?
Okay, so let's just clarify that the he here is Elikem Kumaji, not me, because I'm on the same beat with you. I don't date for those purposes either.
So you date for what purposes exactly, Benjamin?
Oh, I think I'll side with exactly what Akable said. I look out for the character of the person and whether there is that, how would I put it, resonance with the person. If there is, of course, then
so you won't mind dating an older woman, somebody older than you or younger than you, I guess.
I wouldn't.
Okay.
It depends on. There would be other circumstances to take stock of, actually, but I wouldn't. No.
Okay. Joseph, you asked me what I think about your position.
Our position now. There are two of us now.
Are you asking me
as a human being?
No, in your capacity as a host of the AM show.
I was going to say my capacity as your mother. Oh, listen, I just respect what you say. I only hope that you mean what you say. And you didn't say it because we're on TV. And that you are saying it from your heart, which is...
I can't speak for Akable, but as far as I'm concerned, I mean exactly what I say.
Okay.
I sense for Akable, it could be different. I don't know.
All right. Let's do myjoyonline.com, and then we can touch base also with the BBC shortly. So on myjoyonline.com, which is our page, really, you'd find this story. Over $114 million embezzled by NDC in its Saglime housing project. Attached here, first disclosing this on PM Express this week. Yesterday, those who apparently did the auditing and arrived at this conclusion, there was a time spent, and Akable, you have to remind me of the person in particular.
Is the president of the Ghana Institute of Surveyors.
Great. Was on the midday news with MFR Powell, but he would not say anything concrete in terms of whether or not this figure was embezzled. So the issue is still pretty much ongoing. We know that a former minister has been questioned by the CID.
Have you seen the place before? Have you seen?
Yes. I think I traveled to, where was it? To Aqua Safari not too long ago, and
I've seen it like 3 times, and I've actually been to that particular place. Anytime I pass by, I mean, let's put aside all the corruption and other issues. I wonder why whoever decided to put that building at that place, like it always keeps my mind.
As in what, like really far?
Yeah, it's not close to Accra.
Out of
it's
town.
Not close to the Volta region either. Just in the middle, and it's just there. I mean, I'm wondering.
I was saying that maybe the original purpose or the motive was to probably give it to public workers so that they would carry them on buses to work or something like that.
If that's not the case, I mean, then I should hope that should be the case, because if it's not, it's simply mind-boggling. I mean, put such buildings far away from any major town. And
there are many units, but see, I don't think that we should continue to let it just stay there and rot.
I think the best would be to hand it over to the security agencies. That's what I think. Turn it into, I don't know.
To do what exactly?
As they are residents.
To live there.
To live there.
With their families.
With their families, I mean.
And their children will go to what kind of school? Like
I don't know. I mean, because I don't see how affordable this will be, one, and number two, how people would, because I wouldn't, no matter the cost, I wouldn't want to live at a place like this.
It's really, really out of town. But listen.
Well, if I may just chip in on this matter. I mean, I've worked in the Pram Pram enclave before, and I know people who come from there and way beyond, coming even into, Accra and other places to work. So I would think that to bottom line, they have been constructed. And once they have been constructed, we can't, like Mama V is saying, we shouldn't let them rot. We shouldn't let them go waste. We might as well maximize them. Yes, 1,500 units for maybe an exorbitant sum of money. But which is better? To ensure that we actually benefit from what money has been pumped into it, or we let them rot and then lose everything. I mean, there are housing projects from the Kufuor era. Kufuor came through making other promises about what he would do. There are so many of them that have been left to go bust. And I think that we might as well make some use of them rather than just, let them go waste. And I don't think they are situated too far. I mean, if you go back to the 1920s, thereabouts, when you're thinking of South Africa, when you're thinking of what Ghana was copying at the time, they were actually putting up these housing units, especially for workers, because this was a country that was now, trying to find its way into a sort of industrialized setup. So I think it works. It just depends on how we tap into it. I don't think it's too far because, mind you, there are communities which are being inhabited now that a long time ago we felt were, on the outskirts of town, bush, areas and all of that. But guess what? Today, they're in the thick of things. So I think it just depends on the outlook and how much use we make of them.
Yeah, let's spend the rest of the time talking about the minority parties debate yesterday. I was monitoring on radio. Some of you watched it on television. But I felt that Mr. Ayariga came out very strongly yesterday. He, right from the beginning, knew what he was saying. I was pretty impressed. I like the submissions of Mr. Ivor Greenstreet as well. I thought that he was also quite clear in his submissions.
I liked Kofi Akpaloo. I thought he was very, very straightforward and simplistic on some of the issues. I mean,
he will keep borrowing.
Yeah, the fact. Yeah,
did you say simplistic?
Yes, simplistic in the sense that he doesn't speak the complex stuff, just straightforward issue. But it's the truth sometimes, because the facts of the matter, and on a borrowing thing, he was spot on when he said that the U.S. debt to GDP was around 108%. It's a very simplistic view, because the fact of the matter is that our economy cannot support such debt to GDP ratio. And so, of course, he may be wrong in terms of the impact and how to survive it eventually. I thought it was a great exercise. My only issue is that we are listening to people who potentially will collectively get 1% of our votes, proffer solutions. They also will get a 99%. Why are they not speaking?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's your friend Ivor Greenstreet.
Yeah, Miss Ivor Greenstreet. Well, I mean, I think kudos to Madam Bridget Jogbenuku as well. It was refreshing hearing at least one female voice, amongst the men. It wasn't properly balanced because we know that not many women, allow themselves to take up this responsibility and be in the spotlight like she has been. I think she's really grown into it. When she started off, it wasn't like this. She's come a very long way. And I felt proud listening to her. I thought she did a good job too.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that will be it. Thank you, Benjamin, Joseph Akable. We will take a breather. We'll bring you sports, and then we will have our farming conversation. We're talking agriculture. We're heavy on it. If you're a young person watching us, you probably lost your job. You've heard people say, go into farming, but you simply don't know how to start. We'll give you some solid advice because we're spending time with a man who knows all about it. He's been there, done it, still in it. So you've got to stay with us and watch that as well. Ray Kwampofo is up next.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the AM Sports with me, Oreko Wampofo. We do start off with some football news where residents of Thomas Partey's hometown, the Krobo Dumase, are eagerly anticipating his Premier League debut. Now, this is a special report put together by Joy Sports' George Ado Jr.
Everybody's going to watch Partey. I won't lie to you about that. Because even playing way back in Spain, whenever Atletico was playing, you could see that everybody was excited, and then we all had people trooping into centers, match centers, and then pubs going to watch Partey, and the cheers and the jeers were too much.
So what? Partey scores the winning goal for Arsenal on his debut. What will happen here?
I can't really imagine what people are going to do. I can't imagine what people are going to do. It is going to be total mess.
Party after party, right?
Party after party, and no party without Thomas.
That's right. Thank you very much.
You're very much welcome.
Of course, it's always about Manchester United matches, Chelsea. Arsenal has fewer supporters, but with Partey at the center, at the heart of Arsenal right now, trust me, I'm sure that match centers are going to be flowing with Partey jerseys and all those stuff. No Thomas, no.
Which club do you support originally?
Personally, I think I was born a United fan.
I'm sorry about
with the news that Partey is coming to England and my passion for English football, I'm drawn to Arsenal.
So you are saying bye-bye to Man U for now?
My support for Partey on every match day. But whenever United plays, the heart wants what it wants. But my heart is for Partey and all his matches.
How would you feel if Partey scores against your team, Man U?
Well, with a current form right now with Manchester United, I will be happy. I'll be happy.
You'll be very happy.
I'll be happy to sacrifice my team for Partey. For Partey. I will do that. I will do that.
Very glad. First time I had him playing at Athletic ATM. Yeah, so I supported ATM. Though initially I was a Barcelona fan, but as he moved to ATM, I supported ATM till now. But now he has moved to Arsenal.
So are you moving again?
Now I've moved to Arsenal because of him.
The only thing I can say is with Partey, this year or next year, Arsenal is going to win the league. Wow. Yeah, in England. Because Partey is coming to prove to the English Premier League as a champion in Spain.
In just months, COVID-19 shut down half the globe. Images of panic buying, empty grocery shelves, and long queues reminded us how important food systems are in our lives and how imbalanced they have become. The UN World Food Programme has warned that an additional 130 million people could face acute food insecurity by the end of 2020, on top of the 135 billion people who were already acutely food insecure before the COVID-19 crisis because of income and remittance losses. But what is the Ghana-specific situation as COVID-19 pulled us back? That's the conversation we're having as we observe World Food Day today. And my guest is the 2018 National Best Farmer. Mr. James Boateng joins us via Zoom for a conversation. A very good morning to you, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
Good morning, Mavi, and thanks for the opportunity.
Great. First of all, let's talk about what you do in terms of introduce us to your farm.
Okay, we have a little over 1,200 acres of crops. So we do mangoes. We've got about 400 acres of mangoes, which we sell locally to the processors, Blue Skies, and other local processors, and then we export some. We have a 200-acre cashew farm. We also have some teak plantation, a little over 300 acres. We've got a 100-acre orange farm. We have oil palm, another 100 acres. We've got some plantain. These are crops, and they all total up to about 1,100, 1,200 acres. We are into snail farming. We keep some poultry. The interesting thing is that Most of these things we try to do organic. So our poultry are the typical village poultry that you find straying around. So it's a big farm. We've got fish ponds. We do close to 13 to 14 different things on our farm because as part of our mission, we don't want to go into cash crops, but we also want to contribute to the food security of Ghana.
This in 2004, but I know you also spent quite a bit of time, in fact, a lot of time in corporate. Were you doing it alongside when you were still working with the Cadburys and the other companies?
Oh, yes. And I think that's what surprises people. But I thought I should do it that way because, you know, when it comes to agriculture, there are a whole lot of excuses. I'm too busy. I can't leave my job to go into agriculture. But somehow, 16 years ago, I managed to start this farm venture. And through some proper business applications, I made sure I had the right people on the farm. I found time anytime I was in the country, even when I was an expatriate and I was based outside. Anytime I came on holidays, I spent the time on the farm. And so I was able to do it quite successfully. But especially in the last 4 years when I went on retirement, I've been able to apply some of the basic business principles, and that is why our farm is very unique.
Is it better that you're involved yourself, you're committed to it, and you're doing it full time, or is better when you are when you have oversight?
Oh yes, Mama V. Obviously, my physical presence on the farm makes a lot of difference. For example, if I should just make a quick example. When it comes to agriculture, like many business ventures, it's all about productivity. What you get when you put in X. So we were getting something like 2 tons of mangoes per acre. Since I came down, we've been able to raise it to about 7 tons. And every extra ton you get is extra income. So obviously my physical presence has been helpful. I don't regret the time I spent in corporate because I guess that's what is giving me the requisite knowledge, the experiences, the network, and everything to be able to manage the time this way.
Great.
The farm this way.
Okay. Now let's get down to how COVID has affected what we produce. My Joe Online reported recently that during the COVID-19 pandemic, cashew farmers were badly hit. The spread of the coronavirus forced the world's largest importers of cashew products, including India, China, Vietnam, to cut imports as processing factories close due obviously to the lockdowns. This, we're told, caused a glut, forcing international market price of the commodity to slam by some 63%. How did this affect us here in Ghana? You're a cashew farmer yourself. How did that impact your work?
Unfortunately, it did impact us directly. I mean, as we're all aware, with all the lockdowns and the big hit of COVID-19, agriculture was very badly hit. Now, specifically on cashew, what you're saying is true. At farm gate, we were not selling cashew at 8 cedis. We're selling cashew at about 4 cedis, 5 cedis per kilo. But that was good pricing because if you sold a ton, you got 4,000, and you could get a ton on every 2 acres or so. So good incomes. However, with the impact of COVID-19, when the buyers, mostly from China and India, stopped coming. In any case, we do not have cashew processing facilities in this country. So maybe in another platform, we will be able to talk about it. That is just the way to go. Because with COVID, when these buyers stopped coming, the prices dropped to 1 cedi from 5 cedis. So major loss. In fact, there were farmers who were not able to sell at all. On our farm, we were able to sell because of some of the pre-selling arrangements and the planning and the deals, forward selling and all of that we had done with some of these buyers. Otherwise, we would have lost totally. So the impact was very terrible on farmers.
And I also remember the announcement that markets would be closed to allow for fumigation exercise also caused a certain rush. Prices went up. We at least bought things at a higher price. Amidst long queues and heavy congestion in the markets, Newspapers reported that the price of some basic food products had risen between 20 and 33%. Did farmers benefit from this, or it's just the middlemen who enjoyed?
It's precisely, it's just the middlemen. And maybe when you have a close look, until I got directly involved on my farm, I didn't even know that middlemen and women were making anything between 60 to 100% margin. So they cream everything off. They don't pass anything back to the farmers. I mean, the farm gate prices did not increase, maybe slightly. At some stage, we were actually pleading with these middlemen to come pick the things for us. So, and again, this is what leads us to some other solutions. We need adequate warehousing. I'm aware of what government has done, but for example, in where my farm is, there is a production of about 50,000 tons of maize every year. The government warehouse here, much as we appreciate and we applaud government, only has a capacity of 1,000 metric tons. So yes, it's a process, it's a beginning. But until we are in a position to get adequate warehousing and can guarantee prices through the commodity exchange, for example, because if the commodity exchange is working properly, we should be able to sell through the floor of the commodity exchange. But these have started. What makes farmers uncomfortable is just how slow some of these things are.
And how did the COVID-19 situation affect availability of inputs? For instance, the Executive Secretary of the National Seed Trade Association of Ghana has explained that Ghana imports a lot of its improved vegetable and other seeds, as well as other agricultural input from Europe, Asia, and America. These products became more expensive because instead of passenger flights, you have to rent a flight. And the difference, we're told, is about 15 to 20%. So how did the situation impact your ability to buy seed inputs?
The only exception was, to what I'm going to say was the planting for food and
jobs
and inputs.
Okay.
This was the only exception. I think this is where we give kudos to our planners, the government people, the soil service. They had just planned properly for the farming season. So in terms of the subsidized quality seeds, in terms of the fertilizers and all of that, I would say that no impact at all. They were handy. They were ready when the farming season started. But in terms of the other seeds, because the planting for food and jobs covers just cereals and legumes, so beans and maize and rice, and some small vegetables. The rest of the others were very badly impacted. And I know farmers who could just not plant anything at all because of the disruption to the supply chains. I mean, the dealers in agrochemicals simply could not bring anything in. And when the borders started opening and when the lockdowns were lifted overseas, and they brought these things in, they were too late. Now, some of these dealers are even going to have to deal with issues of expiry because seeds also expire. And when they expire, they don't germinate. So really, somehow, it's a bittersweet story. And again, I'd like to sometimes make some takeout from this. Where we planned properly, we did not have any impact. And I think as a country, and as a government, and as public service, as stakeholders, we just plead with them to take planning very seriously.
And I just want to ask you, so are we back on track now? Thank God that COVID-19 didn't have such a great impact on our country, not like it's happening elsewhere. So are we back on track? If I ask that question, is everything okay with agriculture today, with the different types of crops that we produce?
I would say that it's better than probably, as we all know, the first 3 months were just terrible. Everybody was just taken by surprise. There was confusion here and there. Things are much better, but we're not out of the woods. Let me just mention quickly that agriculture in this country has structural and systemic problems. Issues with financing, issues with market access, issues with enough infrastructure. There is some irrigation coming up, but they're not enough. Even access to farm gates. There's a lot of post-harvest losses which are due to the fact that we cannot access these farms and link them to the markets. So some of these issues are still prevailing. Even though I would say that we're much better. I mean, farmers are tilling their lands, even though some of them could not plant anything. I would say generally better. But the prevailing pre-COVID-19 issues persist. And the important thing as a country, once I have this opportunity, I'd just like to plead with everybody involved with agricultural planning and all that, all the actors along the agribusiness value chain, to try to make sure that the transformation of our agriculture, which pre-COVID-19 we thought had started and was going quite well, continue. Because there's a risk that given everything we fear about COVID-19, even if things persist this way, resources can shift from agriculture into other social areas, like education and all of that. In spite of the fact that agriculture in this country contributes 20% of our GDP and employs close to 8 million Ghanaians, there's a risk that resources can move away. And this is where we need to watch out and be very careful.
Yeah. You're on the ground. Do you get the sense that this shift is occurring?
I think that a bit of the shift is occurring. I mean, obviously, some of the support we get in agriculture is not just financial. Some of it is just simply by way of engagements, training, transfer of technology, and all of that. We're not getting most of that because the focus, I guess, in spite of whatever government is doing, it's still a bit, there's still a much caution or a lot of caution. But then I just want to say that if we take our eyes off the agricultural ball, we could suffer. We could suffer because if we cannot provide for our food security, and as you said, Mama V, at the beginning of your introduction, if our food systems cannot be guaranteed in terms of the availability of food, accessibility, affordability, and the balance of our food items, it can have ramifications in this country. So a bit of the shift we have seen. We've not been back to where we were pre-COVID-19, but I'm just hoping that government, planners, NGOs, donor communities who are all involved in the agricultural value chain will keep the focus on so that we don't lose focus.
Will it be far-reaching to say that Ghana is at risk of food insecurity due to the COVID-19 pandemic?
I think for some of them. I think for some of the food items. And Mama V, I would say that it's also a lesson to us as a country to try to focus. We've been talking about stopping food imports and all of that. I think sometimes the items are big ticket. Sometimes the ambitions, the objectives are just too challenging, or rather too ambitious. I mean, we're not going to be able to stop importing rice. I mean, we see a few made in Ghana rice on the shelves, we get emotional, we're excited, but we're not, because we're not ready to produce rice locally. Now, some of them we can stop. For me, it hurts when I see tomatoes and onions coming from an arid country like Burkina Faso into Ghana, when we have similar and better soils and better weather. So I think it's all about doing the right things and importing. When the Thailands and the Chinas and others were cut off, food security in terms of our rice consumption was at risk until some normalcy was restored. Nobody can predict what is going to happen. But if we have food self-sufficiency in this country, then no matter what happens externally, this country will be covered. At this point in time, we seem to be doing well. We are even projecting to have surplus maize, which we could export out. But that's just maize and cereals. We eat a lot more. We do not produce enough meat. We do not produce enough fish for our local consumption. We still import. And I think these are some of the areas that some of us are engaging the appropriate stakeholders to ensure that we'll be covered as a country.
Let's come to what you grow yourself, and you're into about, is it 17 different produce? What is more profitable from your experience?
By far, Mama V, it's mangoes, and I need to confess, maize. It's is one of the least at the moment. I'm sure that the ministry is aware. However, the fact that we can grow maize twice a year compensates somehow. But mangoes by far, even the mangoes we sell for local processing per acre can fetch us anything close to 10,000 Ghana cedis. And an acre is just the size of, if you like, a football pitch. So mangoes are extremely profitable. Mostly it's the tree crops. Besides maize, cocoa is very profitable. All right. The cereals suffer from all the fluctuations of pricing and all of that. When we produce more maize, we produce more beans, the prices collapse. Then we get a shock, and then we retreat. And then by the time we come back, we see a shortage, the prices go up. So all the price fluctuations and the things we used to read in school are happening. And even though government is doing well with planting for food and jobs, the market access angle is still hanging. We've been able to motivate farmers. We've given some subsidized inputs. We say thank you very much to government and all the stakeholders involved. But when we produce, market is not always guaranteed. And some farmers are driven further into poverty. So I've talked a bit about it. You asked a specific question about what is most profitable. Yeah. I'll say it's the tree crops, the cereals, and the others are yet to come up. Let me mention Mamavi quickly. Snail farming is coming up extremely profitable, extreme. It doesn't take a lot of land space. It's not intrusive. You don't need a lot of veterinary care, but one single snail can hatch between 200 and 300 snail babies. And I know some people who have started doing that in their backyard. So we're getting a lot of money, obviously, from mangoes, and we are not even big into mango exports. It's mostly selling locally, but it's extremely profitable. I know someone who has a 100-acre mango farm, and every year makes more than 1 million Ghana cedis. That is true.
Wow.
But snail farming is also coming up very strongly.
Okay. What type of mangoes, though?
You know that the big-sized mango.
Okay, apologies there. Our connection is going bad, but it's just going to be restored in some few seconds, and then we would link back to Mr. James Boateng. You're back. Okay, sir, you have to go back a bit for us because we lost you there. The connection wasn't great. I was asking the type of mangoes.
Yes, so we grow the big mangoes. We don't do the local mangoes, but you know the big ones, Mamavi, you find the young ladies carrying and selling, the ones that is sold on the big hybrid ones. We grow 6 varieties. They're called Kate, they call Kent, they call Palmer, Tommy Akins, and all of them. They are all in huge demand across the world. The Latin Americans are the biggest mango, what we call it, mango producers and exporters. And globally, every year, the value of mango consumption is about $90 billion US. Now, Ghana accounts for just about 200 or 300 million US. So we have a lot of catch up to do, all right? But mangoes by far are extremely profitable.
We'll get into financing in a bit. I want us to talk extensively on that. But I want to ask a question about oranges. It's getting expensive these days. Is it from your end, as in the producers?
I think the reason is seasonal. It's simply seasonal. Oranges in the next couple of months will be on the market plentiful. For example, a kilogram of mangoes, if you want to use the supermarket, the shop price, the game, and all of that as a measure, a kilo of mangoes goes for 7 cedis, 8 cedis. A kilogram of oranges goes for 2 cedis. So oranges are not that profitable to the farmer, but I know that there is a lot of oranges in Ghana. So it's just the oranges are off seasonal. They fruited heavily, and in the next couple of months, we can expect a lot of supplies, and we can expect to see prices coming down.
Are we still advising, or would you still recommend that agriculture is a place for people who are, say, those who have either lost their jobs, those who are looking for something to do? Is it an area to go? And if the answer is yes, what kind of support is there? Financial support? Where do you go for help?
Okay. My answer to the question is obviously yes. Agriculture is the way to go. I mean, I knew exactly what I was doing when I left. I left my contract. I had a good international job. I was running the entire West and Central African region for Cadbury's. So I was a group managing director. 2 years to the end of my contract, I left to come and manage the farm. Obviously, I knew what I was doing because I saw that it was profitable, and indeed, there is no regret. So it is the way to go, except that some of the agricultural products have long gestation period. It's quite a long period between when you plant and when you harvest. So it is definitely the way to go. Financing is a major hurdle, but I can talk of some initiatives by government. You know, maybe what surprises me is just sometimes how quiet our policymakers are, because they've incorporated a financial guarantee organization called GESAL, and it is an incentive-based risk-sharing organization incorporated by the Bank of Ghana and the government of Ghana with support from the African Development Bank, and about 8 banks, universal banks in this country, have signed on. All it does is that if you're a farmer or you want to go into farming and you go to see a bank and the bank is reluctant to give you support, loan, GESA will come in and guarantee to pay up to 70% of the loan in case you default. Of course, you've got to have your planning ready and all of that. These are all available. GESA has been incorporated for close to 18 months. Few people know about it. I don't understand. And so it's also an appeal to our policymakers and people to communicate. It's not good enough to incorporate some of these things on paper and talk about them when people do not even know. So GESAL is one. Sometimes you need an angel donor, I call it. Somebody who will look at you and say, okay, I think that you're a serious young man or young woman, I'll finance you. But unless we do a lot of the advocacy, which I'm trying to do, like having this platform, to let people know about it. If you tell any average Ghanaian that you want to go and invest in agriculture, you need financing, you're not likely to succeed. But I can tell you, and I tell people that my farm is in the middle part of the country. There are people who have come over to have a look at what we're doing, and we've opened our books and shown them the records. I'm getting much better paid on this farm than whatever I was getting even as an expatriate group managing director. And it's true, except that we are applying business principles, which we are prepared to share. If you did the farming anyhow, like anybody is farming, and how my grandmother used to farm, then obviously you're going to fail. But if you apply the proper business principles, then that is it. I've motivated up to about 25 people, middle class, who are in full employment. And I know that over the last 1 year, they've gone seriously into agriculture and farming. So yes, financing is an issue, but sometimes when I was a young man, and I know it happens, people put aside a little bit of money to use for savings. People put aside a little bit of money to try to meet friends and do a little bit of yo-yo. Why don't you put aside a little bit of that money? I could have used my money. I was getting big expatriate money. I could have used it to go on holidays to Barbados, you know, but I kept it. I saved it because I had it in mind to go into agriculture. So yes, finance cannot be a big roadblock because there are ways around it. And there is nothing better than you, the potential farmer, like every business, raising your own equity. Debt is not the way to go, even though debt or money you borrow might help you. But equity, no matter how small. I started this 1,200 acre farm when I was a senior executive in Coca-Cola, and I started with only 3 acres. But over a period of 16 years, I scaled up. So it's not everybody who can do it this way. But even if you have a 20-acre mango farm, maybe I can assure you that it will take care of you.
And let's talk about quality. I mean, we see your farms and we're rolling the visuals. They look very attractive. How do I know that I'll achieve the same end if I get into it?
I think the other time I was speaking on another media platform, and I said, it's all about planning. It's not because we have, excuse me, a tank full of money sitting somewhere. The same business principles that we apply in corporate, in any business organization, is what we're trying to incorporate. And it's not costing us anything extraordinary. It is a discipline, it's a mindset. For example, if you see the visuals rolling, you can see the gender balances in there. We even have ladies driving our tractors because I realized that the boys were just reckless and the ladies were very cautious. Some of these ladies even repair the tractor. They can tear it down and fix. They were trained by government. It's available in Ghana. A lot of people don't know. And like I said, we are able to sell our mangoes largely because we do a lot of pre-selling. We don't wait for the fruits to mature. So just as in corporate, you plan operationally for 1 year and strategically for 5 years. We have an operational and a strategic plan on the farm. Nothing complicated, simple plan which says that we are here today, this is where we want to go. So we sell our fruits to Blue Skies, HPW, which are international companies, and we sell into Germany and Belgium in advance. In fact, when the fruits become marble size, which is like 2 months after flowering, they come and we commit and we sell. So we don't suffer some of these shocks like other farmers do. So going back to how we keep our farm clean, it's all about the discipline, it's the mindset. If you want to keep diseases away and pests away, the farm must be clean. Otherwise, the weeds will harbor these pests and diseases, and you spend a lot more money. So by focusing on quality, we are spending less money than the average farmer. And just to be sure that we are compliant internationally, I subjected a farm to an international audit. And Global Gap, which is an international certification body, has given us certification for the past 2 years. They come and look at farm hygiene, employee safety, the food safety, and all of that, all your sanitation protocols. And these are simple things they come to look out for on the farm, and they certify you so that you can sell to any markets anywhere in the world. So it's in the mind, it's a mindset. But one obviously also requires some business sense. I said the other time, Amavi, that if you're going to put a kiosk somewhere to sell gari and sugar, you don't just get up, put it there and all that. You look for the best location, and then you decide how much gari you want to put in, how much sugar versus charcoal or rice. That's planning. But when people want to go into farming and it starts raining, they go and plant a seed. You failed already.
And I want us to also talk about the basics. How do we attract young people? We can identify science schools. We can identify business schools, for instance. But can we identify agricultural schools so that even at the secondary school level, the young people can have agric imbibed in them, just like we do with the science, the maths, the business?
Perfectly right. Sadly, with all the educational reforms, I took a closer look at it and I realized that agriculture seems to be a bit silenced in the integrated science curriculum. So it has become part of biology, chemistry, physics, and all that. In our days, agricultural science stood out, and there were school farms. I realized that some organizations are beginning to reward the best schools with farms. Even the Farmers' Day awards are recognized, but that's not enough. We need advocacy. I go to schools. There are 15 schools in my community, and I was saying the other time, I lobbied government and got a school built on my farm. So there's a school built on my farm, financed by government.
Is that where, because in the visuals we see some young student, is this what you're talking about?
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
They used to just about 9 students used to sit under a tree and were taught by a volunteer teacher within the community. And then with a lobby and government saw it and built a school, in 1 week, 90 children who may never have gone to school enrolled. And are going to school. It's a proper school block, all right? So as part of my project, because if you win that award, you don't sit back. You try to at least be an advocate for agriculture. So that's what I'm doing. I go to schools and I talk to them. And a number of schools have decided to create school farms. Changing the entire educational system is beyond a simple farmer. I'm not poor. I'm a rich farmer. a simple farmer like me. So I try to influence where I can influence. And these are the schools within my community. A few times I've spoken to congregations, even in churches. The Methodist Church in Dansuman, sometime last year I was there and I spoke to close to 1,000 young people. And I know most of them have converted to go into agriculture. So the advocacy is important. Bringing back agriculture into focus is important. It's exciting how the National Science and Maths Quiz competition is making waves across. How beautiful it will be if we had something similar like that to agriculture. So, Mama, in any case, I'm an Odadie, 7 years in Odadie.
Yes, so congratulations to you. You're celebrating 6 and you're talking 7 already.
Absolutely.
But in very simple terms, for those of us who know very little, and somebody's probably watching and listening to you and learning about the prospects in agric for the first time, what do I need to get involved?
Okay, the first one, I don't want to call it inspiration, but it's close to that. You need to have the conviction that you want to farm. You need that. Farming can be tough, but can be very rewarding. Remember what I said. If you can make 10,000 cedis from the size of a football pitch, I don't know, even the pyramid schemes don't pay back that, you know. So it's good money, but you need to be convinced. So the conviction must be there. That's the first step. After you've done that, then you need to back it up and make sure that you have the requisite financing. Then it's important to get the right knowledge. Our agric extension officers have knowledge, but I realize they don't have all the knowledge. Some of us farmers, I did not read agriculture in school, but I spent 4 years on a farm, and sometimes I talk like they talk, or even better. So practical knowledge. You need to talk to successful farmers, people who have achieved something. You need land. The land situation can be funny, but there are good lands in this country. If you can't get 10 acres, you probably need half an acre to go into snail farming. So there's really no excuse whatsoever. So that's what you need, but just get a conviction. And then you can talk to some of us. We might be able to even point to a few angel donors, as I said, who will want to help. But we will also make sure that you are in your own way raising some little equity. We hear the word is big, equity, but it's nothing like putting some money aside to invest in a business. Simple as that. So that's what you need. And once you start, nothing is going to stop you if you have the conviction.
And if you fail?
If you fail, you go again. You go again. To be honest, I'll say that it's not all the 17 things we have on the farm which are profitable. Some, and I know the reason, because I started, for instance, to go into orange plantation out of some emotional. One day I was driving through an orange plantation somewhere in the eastern region, and when I saw the fruits, I said, lovely. I started planting oranges. Even me, I got it wrong. So sometimes you fail because you have not done the right things. Then you restart. But of course, you restart by doing things slightly differently. I think there should not be any option. Agriculture is extremely profitable, Mama B. And I open up the gate to my farm for people to come for me to demonstrate this.
And did you fail yourself? I mean, did you try something and fail and then you came back again? Did you at any point in time feel like, okay, maybe this is not what I thought it was going to turn out to be?
Yes, I failed. In fact, I failed because whereas with the tree crops, I did the right thing. I did the fundamentals. I've not talked about even doing soil tests. There are organizations which will do soil tests and tell you if you plant maize here, you fail. Rather plant legume or beans. Then after 2 years, the beans will restore the soil so you can count your maize and all that.
Mr. Boateng is just taking us through how he failed.
In the next year.
Okay, Mr. Boateng,
Yes,
can you just go back a little bit for us? Because, again, our connection failed.
Okay. So, Mama V, I was just talking about where I failed.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, so far I've not spoken about the fundamentals of even testing the soil before you plant anything. I failed because I just went ahead and planted a 100-acre maize farm. And it failed. I did not get the timing right. So the rains did not come. I failed. I didn't have irrigation on the farm as I have now. And I was very ambitious, 100 acres. I lost money. But I realized where I failed and the mistakes I had made. So I called in the soil scientists. I arranged and got some basic irrigation pumping machines. I didn't even need them in the subsequent years. And we had a bumper harvest, which made up for what we lost the prior year. So like every business, there are bad seasons. Sometimes the bad seasons are within your reach. Sometimes the bad seasons are simply as a result of your own mistakes, bad decisions and all that. But you don't quit, you go back and it will reward you subsequently.
Well, we have to wrap up, but I just kind of feel like allowing maybe 2 or 3 people to just give us a call. If you're watching us closely and there's something that you want to bounce off my guest who has a lot of experience, obviously, in farming, give us a call now, 030221169102, 030221169102. Talk to us. It's World Food Day today, and we thought that we'll just expand and talk about agriculture and bring experiences on board, and hopefully you can be inspired to either start something on your own. If you're doing it and you failed, you know that you can't give up, right? So you can try again. Mr. James Boateng is our guest, a man who spent many years in the world of corporate, retired and went into farming fully, but he had already started farming back in 2004. And he's been sharing his experience, what he produces with us. He's also given us a lot of ideas in the course of this conversation. So if you've got anything that you want to ask him on what we're talking about, kindly give us a call on 030221169102. Mauli is calling us.
Hello.
Good morning, Mauli.
Hello, my name is Mauli. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Mauli. Thank you for calling. Let's hear you.
Thank you. I'd want to ask Mr. Boateng if he is into poultry farming.
Poultry,
and
that's a yes.
He is further for meat or for eggs, and what are the prospects?
Okay. Yeah. All right, Mauli, thank you. Mr. Boateng, did you hear Mauli's question?
Yes, I had Mauli clearly. Yes, okay. Yes, we are into poultry. But again, it's about what decisions you make. We realize that with the heavy import lobby, if I want to call it, the big guns bringing in the meat, we realized we couldn't compete. So we are into eggs, and there's big demand for eggs. So I mean, besides the COVID-19 era, where some poultry farmers, including ourselves, lost some eggs, I think it's safest at this point in time to just go into the layers, get your eggs, and occasionally at the age, you sell them off for meat.
All right. Let's talk to David. Good morning, David. Hello, David. Yes, David, you're on air. Let's hear you.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning, David, but kindly turn down the volume on your television set, okay? Turn down.
Basic, hello.
David, like first of all,
there should be something like...
David, please turn down the volume on your television set, okay, so that we just speak to us through the phone. Otherwise, we would have the delays that we're experiencing and we'll be talking on each other. So just when you call me, just turn down the volume on your television set and let's speak through the phone. David, let's hear you now. Hello, David. Okay, we seem to have lost David right there. I think I just have just a little time to pick 2 more calls. So just try again. 030221169102. I've got somebody else on the line. Hello, good morning.
Yes.
Abdul, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Mama V.
Okay.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I would like to ask Mr. Boateng. He talks about the finance and how the government has incorporated care cells to provide. To what extent will he advise that care cells should look at their approach now to reach out to a lot of people? Because from what he's saying, it doesn't look as if many people and many agriculturists are aware of care cells and what he can do for the agricultural land. So I'm asking what he can do as a national best farmer, because it's a stakeholder in this whole process. Yeah,
okay.
So that's what I want to ask.
So I guess you're asking beyond what he's doing, because if he had not mentioned it on the show this morning, many of us probably would not have known. So, Mr. Boateng.
Yes, so you're right. I think that for me, in simple terms, GESL must talk. They must communicate. Even in the Bible, if you light a lamp and you put it under the bed, it's of no use. So they must talk. They must communicate, and there's absolutely no reason why most stakeholders are not aware of what they're doing. So some of us have access to them, given the size of my farm and my corporate connections and network. So I'll do my own, but I think government, which incorporated it together, and they've got fantastic people. David Cobo, very experienced farmers who are leading the GESL drive. And all the banks, call it EcoBank, Barclays, all of them, Standard Chartered, Ghana Commercial Bank, about 8 or 10 have signed up and ready. But not a lot of farmers are accessing, and it's not because they don't know. So there is no excuse whatsoever. So I think that I will use this platform, even though there are conditionalities that are obviously, if GESL is going to guarantee you to pay up to 70% of your loan, then you better get your act right on your farm. But people don't know, so how do they even start? So yes, it's about communication, and they need to fix that angle.
Well, let's pick our last call. David from Boko. David, thank you for calling back. We lost you earlier.
Thank you very much.
Is that your baby in the background?
Yes, please. I'm a young guy who wants to venture into fish farming, and I have certain fears. So I want to see if there are any advices as to how I can go into this. Actually, where I am looking at this government initiative on the One Village, One Dam, I could also venture into some fish farming. So I want to see what good advice he would have for me. So
okay, but David, you mentioned fears. So what are your fears?
My fears are that possibly I don't get the necessary inputs, I don't get the necessary advice, the technical know-how into this.
Okay. Mr. Boateng, please talk to David.
Yes. David, obviously, I think that I can calm you down because I'm aware that, first of all, the inputs are available. Government has aquaculture breeding facilities. I don't know if they have one in the north, but they have one in Tema, I think near Sherman. If you talk to any person in either MOFA or MOFAD, which is the ministry in charge of fisheries, they've got these facilities. And the fingerlings cost almost next to nothing. I think a fingerling is like 10 pesos or so. I bought something like 3,000 fingerlings for less than 300 Ghana cedis. So yes, in terms of feed, to feed the fish, they are all available. There is expertise available. Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture has people who are well versed in fish farming. The only caution I'll give you, and it's also out of my own personal experience, is that be careful. If you have not assessed the demand for your fish, then please tread cautiously. because to date, I mean, I have close to 10,000 tilapia on my farm, which I've not sold in 2-3 years because the immediate market is too small. I have to transport it to Accra or Kumasi to go and sell. But by the time I do that, I could lose money. So be careful where you set it up and just bear in mind the adage that if there's no demand, then don't produce. So if you think that where you are, your fish, which you're going to spend money on, can compete with the regular fish in the rivers around Bokatanga and around the country, please go ahead. But do some market survey, please.
Okay.
In terms of preparedness, expertise, technology, fingerlings, inputs, they are available. And I guess that, I mean, the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture is a very dynamic ministry, and I know what I'm talking about. They do outreach, they visit my farm, but I struggle to sell my fish. So be careful before you start.
Thank you for the advice, Mr. Boateng. Mr. Boateng, I would ask you to just still hold for me, okay? Because we want to go to the market proper. My colleague is in Agbogboloshi. Manuel will be roving and reporting for us on this day, World Food Day. Our guests will still hang on and make some comments right after that. So, Manuel, over to you. What can you tell us as you visited Agbogboloshi this morning?
Oh yes, Mama V. Well, I love food. I don't know about you, but everybody else who's watching us, I'm very sure at one point or the other would take something. But today, as you would already know, you're discussing in the studio, there is World Food Day. There's a whole value chain of
thing. But today, as you would already know, and you're discussing in the studio, there is World Food Day, and it's a whole value chain of a food from when it's cultivated in the farmland to when it's harvested and then moved into the markets, like you can see behind me. There are different processes that the food go through before they eventually get to the final consumers. But what do we know about what happens to the food that we consume before we eat? Well, I'll try and find something. I can see some coconut around. I'll try and find something this early morning. But let me talk to the market women here and ask them what they do to make sure that the food that we eat really is safe for our consumption. And in fact, within the period of COVID-19 and people, panic buying and all that, how have they been taking it? Madam, good morning. Morning.
Morning.
Uton cabbage. Cabbage, we are saying.
Baku 4 cities.
Baku 4 cities. Hey, me because you have 3 cities and 5 cities. Manamaji 2 mama.
Oh, ubanyabi.
But cabbage we uniwe ejefi.
Omo de fi. What the beef Kumasi. Okay. What the beef Togo.
Nti wo de na wo ton na de fi.
Kumasi.
Efi Kumasi. Okay, na unim se na omo dua no.
Okay, nduane de amo duane Ododuane lie.
I say the gutter and so na here cabbage.
Nya gutter so. We amo ye pipe.
Okay.
No mo spray guso.
Nti ye the bar wo say no wo ye den na otumi man we are there about how many days na be di?
3 days and 2 days na asan.
2 days and
dako unye gwa kra dako obotuma asan.
Unye gwa dako obotuma asan. Nti omo the bar sa na den na wo ye say na be ya enye black.
Oh, what the amo de ba say ye ton. Say wana say or san where you go anya black on your shade.
Okay. Inti we di abenya den wo.
Without benya ahode.
Well, so that's what she's telling me, that it's cultivated all the way from Kumasi. The one that she has here comes from Kumasi. There are some others also which come from Togo, imported from Togo. She says that she tries to keep them clean enough so that anybody who consumes them does not have any complications. But there's more. There are, canned products and, finished products here, some of which, the FDA advises that before you purchase and consume, you must check the expiry date and check for all, any sort of spoiling. Madam, good morning. So what do you sell here?
I don't sell, I came to buy.
You came to buy. What goes into your choice of a place to buy? What made you come here?
I buy Indomie, I buy canned beef, sardine, vegetables.
Okay. What you cook and sell Indomie?
Yeah.
Hey. Are you sure?
Yeah.
All right. So tell us what goes into your decision to know that this place is a place I want to go and buy my stuff.
I didn't get expiring dates here. I get anything all right.
Okay. You check the prices of the goods?
Yeah, I check. Okay. It's normal.
It's normal. Since COVID came, has it affected the business that the people who come to buy your food and even the people who you buy from?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us about it. How did that affect it?
Because my customers are not working anymore.
Okay.
So they don't come anymore.
Okay, they don't come anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. So for somebody like you, when you're cooking, what do you do so that the people, when they come and buy from you, they don't get any complaints? What do you do?
Oh, I try to serve my customers well so that if you go next time, you will come again. Okay. And if you don't have money, maybe I can give you next time. If you get, you come.
Okay. If I don't have money, you can give me so that next time if I get, I come. Great. So let me talk to a few more people. I think that Madam is actually the one who sells it. But let me go around here, this point and get some more reactions. Like I told you earlier, we'll try and get to taste something this morning and give you a feel of what happens in the market. My boss, morning. Hey, now we kube we the kube so.
Sa.
Inso be na odi guso no.
Alo.
Meno ye de ben.
Emma kube no once in minutes. Ena Emma eni aya white. Nti unam na wo ho a ukombedo.
Okay. Alom no Emma once na ensi kube no so. Na enra kube ni mu.
Pacho David. Enram.
We are sure. Okay. Great. So he's telling me that there's what alum in this bottle. They sprinkle it on the coconut so that it doesn't attract flies, and then it keeps it attractive for people who are passing by to come and buy from. Into Oton Kuben one day to meet on saying.
It meet on 150, 200.
Yeah, 150. Kube baku 150 and 150 Ghana.
Kube baku 150.
Hey, Kube baku 150 one day. And there's always a guy.
Even buy.
What's it?
Even buy.
He can't even buy. Okay, it's a metal back, saying
2 or 15 or
2 cedi or 15. Okay, into when him. Cha 2 cedi, I'm say, me ano mana. Na me quite aba. So that's what he's telling me, that one is 2 cedis, and he can sell as many as 150 pieces of coconut. And I was just asking him how much he makes in a day. So Oton Baku 2 cedis 150. One day be on 3 million.
I try.
3 million now there.
Pacho David.
Now the coin.
Minimum master. Oh, on the virgin, no, I give me chair, mum. Oh, to remember 70 and I 80.
70 and I 80. Charlie, how many of us have, with regular jobs, get paid up to 100 cedis in a day? Well, that's the story of the seller of the coconut. Boss man, na hands we are not to do to market. Where then?
But your Mrs. Ram, I'm in trade.
Who is there around my into market for any day? And anybody, the only channel in around all their money. Oh, okay. But any problem in managing?
David, and you cry more the power because your cry says, see, a deep vegetables and my word into money training when the power. Yeah,
Uncle Soko market and our wife never market.
Me and Gazana come market.
One Gazana then a call with decision say, maybe I may choose a make call Agbolusiana, I make call Malata, and I make call infant.
Because I thought me think say Agbolusi a cheap papa, mamma, it's a me banambe, me say, Yama Kitty, me say, you can say, coconte, nam, carrot, cabbage, me didn't share me fridge.
What talk contain carrot?
As no any summer in no me didn't share fridge, nama store, kakra, canam didn't kakra, me first say Agbolusi a better mamma.
Agbolusi a better mamma. Into one Casanga said, the other pan out pay.
Oh, me pay, can I say, coconte, any catapult, and idea, some more, any nature, no more mupa, and I'm a pepper.
Okay. Someone in Chinamu, we knew me out the pan. We knew me out the pan. So he's just telling me that, I mean, his choice of agbogloshi is informed by the prices and the sort of, you know, services that he receives here. So, Mama V, so unfortunate for you that you are not able to taste the coconut that we are about to taste right here at agbogloshi. But from here, at the agbogloshi market, this is what we can report to you. Before you go on, this is just to tease you. Charlie, oh, the pie back one. Now, make sure say me to me and no maintain them. But they checking me how far. What I say. So, Mavi, this is how it's like over here. And maybe one time you should pass by the agbogloshi market to try and taste it. But I want to say now, uni straw. Uni straw. It's a unya straw. Why? Cheers to all of you.
Cheers to you, Manuel, our roving reporter, enjoying himself with that coconuts from the agbogloshi market this morning. But our guest is kind enough to still stay with us. Mr. Boateng, coconuts is selling for 2 cedis 50 pesos. That's a bit too much, isn't it?
I think from a farmer's perspective, if only most of this will go to the farmer, then it will be good. I know that it's not just farmers. 2 cedis 50 pesos. Maybe I see it as a huge opportunity, another huge opportunity for people to go into farming. And just to mention, in case people missed it, 3 weeks or so, government launched the Tree Crops Development Authority. So it's in existence, and they're looking at 6 tree crops, including coconut. So there is technical support, there is advice. Who knows? There could even be funding. So this is just another testament to the fact that the people go into farming to be profitable. In any case, one coconut tree can produce up to 100 fruits.
Ooh, okay.
So this is where you go. It's not just mangoes.
Mm. And how long would it take? I mean, if I went into it today, when would I begin to enjoy the fruits of my labor?
In these days of in these days of hybrids and all the technology in agriculture, you can have some coconut varieties, depends on the variety you grow. But there are seed breeders who are sponsored by all the stakeholders I've mentioned, and you can have coconuts bearing fruits in 3 years, 4 years. Doesn't take that long. In commercial quantities, maximum 4 years, 5 years, you will be harvesting your fruits.
Well, Mr. Boateng, sad to say we have to leave the conversation here, but we've enjoyed every bit of what you've shared with us. I think I want to visit your farm and have my next conversation on the farm proper. Maybe sometime
Very
soon.
good. Thank you, Mama V, for the opportunity once again. And you're all welcome to come and see Kwafre Farms in Nkrasa. Thank you very much.
We thank you. Now, here's what I want to say in wrapping up. Behind our food, there's always someone who produced, planted, harvested, fished, or transported it. We thank all who, no matter the circumstances, continue to provide food to their communities and beyond, helping to grow, nourish, and sustain our world. That's our conversation on agriculture. We've touched on many, many, many other angles, and we hope that our guest has inspired you today. Stay with us. We'll come back and talk about the Habitat Fair, the clinic that will start tomorrow and on Sunday at the West Hills Mall. It's Joy News in partnership with EcoBank bringing us this year's Habitat Fair 2020. The clinic is just around the corner. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Ernest Kufo is my colleague, but he leads the project, the Joy News Habitat Fair, which is in partnership with EcoBank. This year's edition, he's going to tell us about the plans for the clinic that begins tomorrow at the West Hills Mall. Ernest, good morning.
Good morning, Mama V.
Yeah. I know that people can't wait for the clinic because of all the interactions that we've had. People have great expectations and they can't wait to experience the one-on-one and ask all their questions. So What's different about this year's clinic, and what should people expect?
Thank you, Mami. So this year, what we are introducing as being new is the virtual aspects that we'll be having in addition to the physical fair that we've been doing for the past 10 years. So this is our 11th edition. And also in addition, we'll be having a webinar or a seminar as part of this year's Habitat Fair, where we'll be discussing things like mortgage financing, because we are looking at affordable housing beyond the rhetoric. We've been talking about affordable housing, but really, are the houses affordable when people patronize them? And so we are looking at beyond the rhetoric, what else can we bring on board? And so that's what is informing this year's Habitat Fair, and that's what we are looking at, helping improve on the deficit that we have in terms of housing.
Okay, great. So the clinic, which typically doesn't come with seminars, this year we have a seminar along the clinic.
Yes.
When is it happening? Because we're doing this on Saturday and Sunday.
Yes. So the seminar is happening both on Saturday and Sunday between 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. and to be live on radio. That's when we'll be having the seminar on Joy 99.7 FM. So between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m., both on Saturdays and Sundays. And we are discussing mortgage financing on Saturday.
Okay, so on Saturday, we're looking at mortgage financing, which is very important because the COVID, we know, has brought a lot of hardships.
Exactly.
So one of the questions that I would love to ask is, if you're already in the process of financing, you've already secured the mortgage, but you've lost your job, for instance, what can EcoBank, for instance, do for you if you took a facility with them? So this is very crucial. And then Sunday, what are we discussing?
And Sunday, the topic also will be building upon beyond the rhetoric. So we are looking at other alternatives, smart alternatives that we can look at in terms of acquiring a home. So we are looking beyond the rhetoric once we discuss mortgage financing, and we also have the Planned Cities Extension Project, where we are looking at renting to home. So you move in with the mindset of renting. By the end of it, you end up acquiring a home for yourself. So these are some of the new things that we are bringing on board to help us go beyond the rhetoric of affordable housing and actually get to the point of owning a home for yourself.
And you just mentioned one of our sponsors. I mentioned EcoBank, but tell us who is sponsoring this year's fair.
So this year's fair, we are glad to have EcoBank partnering us. So EcoBank is one of our sponsors. We also have Ganaba Properties. They are looking at affordable luxury. We have Duraplast. They tell you where Duraplast go, water flows. We also have DBS Roofing, and DBS Roofing has been with us for some years now. Then these are the sponsors that are supporting us.
So on the day, the clinic, which is just tomorrow, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the West Hills Mall, who will be exhibiting?
So all these sponsors will be exhibiting. And in addition to these sponsors that we have exhibiting, we also have MBA Safety. They are into fire extinguishers. And it's also key in our homes, because once you're in your kitchen and let's say, unfortunately, there's something, you would need safety precautionary measures for you to take. So they are also there. We also have Superlock Technologies, STL.
Superlock was with us last year. They're back with us
Exactly.
this year.
To give us security doors and stuff like that. Because a door is the entrance to your home. And once you are not secured properly, then you have problems. So these are some of the sponsors, some of the exhibitors we have together with Mobus Properties, and a whole lot. But then we are still registering for new exhibitors.
Okay.
It's not late at all. So once you are watching us and you want to be part of it, and I think you ought to be part of it, then you can give us a call. I don't know if I can put the number out there.
Yes, please do.
So you can give us a call on 0546 908179. If I may repeat again, 0546 908179, for you to be part of this fair in order to help us reduce the deficit that we have.
Okay. We've got the bigger fair that's also coming up. Do we have a date for that?
Yes. The main event at the conference center will be from the 6th to the 8th of November. From the 6th to the 8th of November, that's going to be 3 days. And that's also promising to be very exciting, because that we get the opportunity to also go a step further than what we've been doing just at the clinic. The clinic just gives us the base for us to start the main fair, which will be on the 6th to the 8th of November at the conference center.
Okay. All right, Ernest, in the absence of any other thing that you want to share with us, I guess it will be see you at the West Hills Mall.
Yes, the only thing I would say that, yes, we understand that COVID is around, but then we've taken measures to improve safety at the place. So we are going to be having the temperature guns, we are going to be having Veronica buckets all available, and I'm going to ensure that indeed all the safety protocols are observed. And so, yes, we need to be safe in whatever that we do, but shelter is absolutely important. So let's come and let's engage because it promises to be exciting.
All right. The thing about the clinics that we hold, it gives you, listen, it's open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. If you're there by 10, right after breakfast, you can choose to spend the entire day with us. And our exhibitors love to do the interaction. So all the questions that you have on your mind, it's not enough to just hear them talk about their products on the show. But when you get to the ground, you can see what they are also selling because they bring the products live right there. And it also comes with a lot of discounts. So we ask that you join us, the West Hills Mall, tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. for the first clinic, this year's Habitat Fair. So we'll see you tomorrow at the West Hills Mall. Thank you, Ernest, for telling us about this year's Habitat Fair, his project lead for the Habitat Fair 2020. There's still show business to come here on our show. Please do stay with us.